Someone tried to get into my house while I was inside it. He knew I was there. I know that because I screamed at him. He knocked anyway. He kicked the door like he wasn't in a hurry, like he expected it to open eventually. And when he left, he didn't run, he disappeared. This happened years ago, on a January morning so cold the world felt frozen in place. I was home from college for winter break, staying at my parents' house with nothing to do and nowhere to go. No job, no obligations, just long, empty days. That morning, I slept in late, unaware that someone else had already decided how my day would go. When I woke up around 9, the house felt wrong, too quiet. My parents were already gone to work, and the heat hadn't caught up yet. Cold air clung to the walls. The floor burned my feet as I went downstairs and turned the thermostat up. Outside, snow covered everything in thick, untouched white. The kind that absorbs sound, the kind that makes you feel isolated even in a neighborhood. That's when I heard it. Crunch, crunch, slow footsteps in the snow behind the house. I didn't move at first. I stood there, listening, telling myself it was an animal, or maybe a neighbor. But the sound had weight to it, rhythm, someone walking carefully. Someone who didn't care about being quiet. I moved to the back window and looked out. A man was crossing the yard. He was dressed entirely in black, snow pants, heavy boots, thick coat, gloves, a ski mask pulled tight over his face, ski goggles covering his eyes, no skin showing, no face to read. He was tall and broad, and every step he took left a deep, deliberate footprint in the snow. He wasn't wandering. He was heading straight for the house. I watched him reach the back patio. He tried the door once, then again. Locked. My heart jumped, but the relief lasted less than a second. He didn't walk away. He stayed there, facing the door, completely still. It looked like he was listening, waiting. I don't know what I was thinking, but I stepped closer and yelled for him to leave. My voice echoed through the glass, thin and shaky. He didn't react. Instead, he raised his hand and knocked. 3 slow knocks, heavy, calm, controlled. Not the knock of someone scared. Not the knock of someone in a rush. The knock of someone who expected an answer. Then the knocking stopped, and he started kicking. The door shook violently with each impact. Wood groaned. The frame rattled. Each kick landed with a deep, hollow thud that traveled through the house and into my chest. He didn't kick wildly. He kicked like he was testing it, measuring it. I backed away, panic flooding in, and grabbed the phone. I called 911, my voice trembling as I told them a man was trying to break into the house. Then I called my parents. While I was on the phone, the kicking didn't stop. Over and over, heavy boots slamming into the door. I remember staring at it, wondering how long it would hold, wondering what I'd do when it didn't. After several minutes, it stopped. The silence was worse. No footsteps, no movement. Just the sound of my own breathing, too loud in the empty house. I waited, frozen, listening for anything. Finally, I forced myself to move and looked out the window again. He was gone. The backyard was empty. No man, no movement. Just a trail of footprints leading away from the door, cutting through the snow and disappearing beyond the fence. The police arrived minutes later, their lights washing the snow in red and blue. They searched the yard, the street, nearby houses. They found nothing. No suspect, no car, no explanation. The footprints were already filling in. I never found out who he was or why he chose our house. It wasn't special. It wasn't isolated. And what scares me the most isn't that he tried to break in. It's that he didn't panic when I yelled. He didn't rush, he didn't care. Sometimes, when winter mornings are too quiet, I think about those knocks. How polite they sounded. And I wonder if he wasn't trying to get inside at all. Maybe he was just checking who answered. He didn't ask for my car. He told me he needed it at midnight. In 0-degree weather, with no coat, no shivering, no urgency. And when I locked him out, he stayed where he knew I'd have to walk past him. I live alone in an apartment building and have 4 years. It's quiet, predictable, the kind of place where nothing happens, which is why what did happen still crawls under my skin. There's no garage, so my car sits in the open lot all winter. When it gets brutally cold, I have to start it daily or risk the battery dying. That night, I'd forgotten. It was close to midnight when I finally remembered. The temperature had dropped to around 0, the kind of cold that makes your chest tighten when you breathe. I bundled up, left my warm apartment on the 4th floor, and stepped outside. The cold hit me like punishment. The walk to the car was short, but the parking lot felt abandoned. Snow muted everything. No traffic, no voices, just wind. I got inside, turned the key, and waited while the engine fought to come alive. When it finally started, I sat there, frozen, watching my breath cloud the windshield. That's when I saw him, a man walking slowly down the sidewalk toward the lot. He wasn't dressed for the weather. Just a sweatshirt and jeans, no gloves, no hat. His hands hung loose at his sides. He didn't hunch against the cold or move faster. He looked comfortable. He scanned the area as he walked, not like someone lost, but like someone checking. When he reached my car, he didn't pass by. He stepped off the sidewalk and walked straight through the snow toward me. There were no cars next to mine. No reason for him to be there. He stopped at my driver's window and knocked. The sound was dull and heavy, too close. I tried to roll the window down, but it was frozen. I cracked the door instead, immediately regretting it as freezing air poured in. I asked what he wanted. He looked at me and said he needed to borrow my car. That was it. No explanation, no pleas, no eye contact I could read. Just a statement, a demand. Like we both understood how this was supposed to go. Every instinct screamed danger. I slammed the door shut. His hand shot out and hit the metal. I locked the doors. He tried the handle, once, then again. Then he stepped back and walked away, angry but controlled. I watched him head toward my building and felt a flicker of relief. I told myself he was gone, that he'd move on. He didn't. He stopped near the entrance and stood there. He didn't pace, didn't look at his phone, didn't go inside. He just stood, facing the lot, facing me. Minutes passed, 10, 15, the car warmed. I didn't. The longer I watched him, the more I realized he wasn't waiting for me to leave. He was waiting for me to get out. Eventually, I turned the engine off. I couldn't sit there forever. I chose a longer path back, weaving behind cars, trying to stay out of sight. The parking lot was silent to silent. Halfway there, I glanced over. He was still there, then his head turned. He started walking toward me. Not fast, not slow, certain. I knew immediately I wouldn't make it. I turned and ran back to my car, got inside, and started the engine again. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely get it into gear. When I looked up, he was closer than before. I didn't wait. I backed out and drove. I don't remember the streets, just driving, circling, letting my hands stop shaking. After 15 minutes, I went back, The spot by the entrance was empty. I parked, got out, and walked inside without stopping. I've never seen him again, but what stays with me isn't what he said. It's how comfortable he was in the cold, how he positioned himself between me and safety, how he didn't leave when I locked him out. Sometimes I wonder if he ever wanted the car at all. Maybe he just needed me to step out of it. Someone walked every inch of my yard while my family slept. Not to get somewhere, not to cut through. He didn't hurry, even in a blizzard. He didn't miss a spot. He didn't touch the neighbors' yards. He erased the snow like he was correcting something. Like the yard wasn't right until he finished. This happened when I was in high school, back when life felt simple and predictable. I lived with my parents and my older brother in a completely normal house on a completely normal street. The kind of place where you stop locking your bedroom door because nothing ever happens. Winter was always rough where we lived. Snowstorms were common, cold was expected. That night started the same way. School, homework, dinner, ordinary. Later in the evening, snow began falling harder than usual. At first, it just dusted the grass, but as the hours passed, the storm thickened. Heavy flakes whined, the kind of snowfall that swallows sound. I stayed up late in the living room, playing video games, occasionally glancing out the window. I watched the yard slowly disappear beneath the snow. By the time I finally shut everything off around midnight, the ground outside was perfectly smooth, untouched. No footprints, no tracks, just white. I went to bed without a second thought. The next morning, I woke up early to find out school was cancelled. That feeling lasted about 30 seconds. When I went downstairs, my parents were already standing at the front window, silent. The yard looked wrong. Every inch of fresh snow was trampled. Not a path, not scattered footprints. The entire yard was destroyed. Overlapping prints, circling patterns, uneven pressure. It didn't look random. It looked worked over. Like someone had spent a long time out there. My parents asked if I'd gone outside during the night. I hadn't. My brother hadn't either. None of us had. When we checked the backyard, my stomach dropped. It was the same. Every inch, front and back. The neighbors' yards were untouched, smooth, perfect. Just ours looked like it had been deliberately ruined. That's when my parents pulled up the doorbell camera footage. Around 5 in the morning, during the height of the storm, a man appeared on the street. That alone was unsettling. We lived on a road with no sidewalks. Nobody walked there, especially not during a blizzard. He moved slowly, too slowly for the weather. Snow blew around him, but he didn't shield his face. When he reached our house, he stopped. Then he turned and stepped into the yard. What he did next made my chest feel tight. He didn't wander. He didn't pace. He walked in short, careful steps, back and forth, covering the ground systematically. He adjusted his path as he went, overlapping footprints, filling in clean spaces. Like he was correcting mistakes, like he had a plan. He stayed out there far longer than made sense. Eventually, he moved out of view, likely into the backyard. When he came back into frame, he didn't look tired. He didn't rush. He simply walked off the yard and disappeared down the street. He never went near another house. We watched the footage over and over. The quality was poor. His face was unclear. But something about the way he moved felt wrong. Too intentional, too focused. This wasn't vandalism. This wasn't random. It felt like completion. Nothing like that ever happened again. Years later, the footage is gone, deleted, lost. All that remains is memory. And the older I get, the less I believe he was just some strange man in the snow. Because sometimes, when I think about it, I realize something worse. He didn't come during the night. He came just before morning. He timed it so we'd wake up and see it immediately. And the way he walked, careful, repetitive, precise, it feels less like trespassing and more like marking. Like he needed us to wake up and understand that while we slept, someone had been there long enough to learn the shape of our home. I was alone in the driveway when a man walked into our yard and stared at me. I was too young to understand why my body froze. Too young to know that silence can be a warning. He didn't speak. He didn't hurry. He just kept walking. And later, when I thought he was gone, he was waiting in the dark. This happened when I was a kid, back when shoveling the driveway meant earning a quarter. That was the deal. Whenever it snowed, I volunteered. I didn't care about the cold. I didn't care how long it took. It felt good to earn something, and I liked being outside. One evening, it snowed a few inches. By the time it stopped, it was already dark out. My parents said I could shovel, so I put on my winter coat and boots, opened the garage, grabbed the shovel, and started clearing the driveway. It was a long driveway, the kind that takes a while, but I didn't mind. I worked my way down, getting warm as I went, breathing hard, snow scraping loudly against the pavement. Near the end of the driveway, I noticed movement. A man was walking down our street. That alone was strange. Our street was usually quiet, especially at night. I didn't recognize him. I assumed he'd keep walking past, but before he reached me, he turned. He stepped off the road and into our front yard. I stopped shoveling. He looked at me, not quickly, not nervously, just a long, flat look, no smile, no wave. He didn't say anything. I didn't either. I was shy, young, and suddenly very aware that I was small and holding a shovel that felt useless. He kept walking. He crossed the yard, cutting closer to the house, then past the driveway without slowing down. For a second, I thought he might go to the front door. Instead, he walked past it, stepped back into the snow, and disappeared around the side of the house toward the backyard. I stood there, confused, the cold finally catching up to me. Something felt wrong. I went inside to tell my parents. We looked out the back window together, but the yard was empty. No footprints that made sense. No sign of him. We agreed it was strange, but maybe harmless. My dad offered to finish shoveling, but I said I could do it. I didn't want to seem scared. I went back outside. It only took a few more minutes to finish. When I was done, I carried the shovel into the garage. It was dark inside, the only light coming from the open door behind me. As I hung the shovel up, something moved in my peripheral vision. I turned my head. He was there, standing inside our garage, close. I didn't scream. I didn't think. I dropped the shovel and ran. I sprinted for the door into the house, slammed it shut, unlocked it. My heart felt like it was trying to escape my chest. I ran to my parents and told my dad what I'd seen. He went out to the garage immediately. By the time he got there, the man was already running down the street, disappearing into the darkness. The police were called, but they arrived too late. There was nothing they could do but take a report. The man hadn't stolen anything. He hadn't broken anything. That almost made it worse, because it meant he hadn't gone into the garage to steal. Sometimes I think about the timing, about how he walked through the yard while I was outside, about how he went behind the house while I was inside telling my parents, about how he chose a garage, the one place I had to return to. And what stays with me isn't that he ran. It's that he waited until I was alone again.